Hello everyone and welcome, it's the Adrenaline Karting Invitational Stay at Home 100. We are here live on Apex Racing TV from beautiful Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and unfortunately the changing time zone today has pulled a sneaky on us. We had a little bit of a mix-up together with the organizers, and well, we are already in the race, 12 minutes in, but we have around 85 left, if my maths are not wrong, and they usually are. Marco Barbanera here, and together with me is Dane Bird to commentate on this classic combination of iRacing MX-5s and the Laguna Seca racetrack.
Yeah, thanks Marco. And we are just about 30 minutes into this race, unfortunately, but we've seen a bit of the grid. We've got 33 cars in this event, and it looks to be, well, the rest of the race looks to be like it's going to be a good one. We've got Von Glace here in first position. He's got a 3-second gap to the cars behind. We've got some pretty close battles forming, especially the battle for second, and looks like it's going to be a good race.
Absolutely, it is going to be a great one as we jump straight into the thick of it with, as you were saying, Von Glace is leading the way from Pennsylvania. Of course, it's a field full of stars and stripes. These are basically, well, apparently a group of friends, karting partners that, of course, have decided to run a replacement race, so to speak. And here we are, of course, in Laguna Seca, and as you can see, for example, a great fight for second place, but all over the field you will see, I think, a lot of very close battles. As you can see, Alan Helwood and Adam Lacey are fighting it out in the first corner. Of course, Dane, in the penultimate build, this car got a nice update. Of course, new tire model is in, but also the new engine specs are in. This makes this car a little bit more powerful and a little bit more, I'd say, difficult to handle. Not exactly a car that screams rookie anymore to me, especially with the fact that the new tires also require a lot of precision and carefulness when you start a race.
Yeah, definitely a lack of grip at the start of races with the new tire model. Tires very cold, and it's very easy to lose the rear end, especially in these cars. As you said, increased power sitting on those rear axles, it makes it even more difficult. Increased power and reduced grip means spin time. So we can see Lacey here closing in on the back of Elwood. You might have a look if we go into the first corner, maybe the final corner.
Also, you can see there's a massive track map there, trying to resize it to a more palatable size, which is the opposite of what I'm doing right now, which I'm making it bigger actually. All the beauties of technology. Almost there. I can already hear in my ears Sam Kumo screaming at me for, you know, doing something in a very clumsy way. Of course, hello Sam, you're watching us, of course, in the chat. Okay, that's a bit too high. Amateur hour here, and then hopefully you are not watching this, but I think you are, and you're seeing my. And there we go. Tentatives to get the track map in a more, confined place. So yeah, let's jump on board with Adam Lacey and see what we see.
We can see him coming down now towards turn 4, and he comes up the hill. They're going to reach the corkscrew in no time, but this car has 6 gears, and you never really used the 6th gear before the adjustments to the engine were made, and it was kind of just there for fuel saving if you're doing an endurance race. But now you get to use that 6th gear as they come down towards one of the most famous corners in all of motorsport. The corkscrew is right up the back of Alan Elwood there. Just 4/10 separate these two drivers. It's a very tricky section of the track, very easy to run wide, off camber. It looks like the leader of this race is catching up to some traffic, which has brought that 3-second gap down to just 2 seconds.
On the start finish line once again for the 11th lap of the race, and Lassie is still looking to make that pass on the outside. Good defending from Helwood. Behind them we have another great fight between Zach Bevan and Chad Petticord as they're heading into the first corner. Bevan Petticord with that Martini Racing livery MX-5, a little bit of damage on the front right, but he can make the move as we have driver in the pits. It's Chad Clay, and I think he's there to repair some damage. He's also got some massive damage to that front left of his MX-5.
As we can see this battle between Bevan and Petticord there, Bevan's right on the back of him, and I can expect him to be making a move in the not too distant future, trying to reclaim the 4th position. Is he going to go for it here? He dives down the inside, He's gone a bit deep, and Petticord takes massive advantage of that. It was very good driving by him, just allowing him to go deep and then picking up the scraps. That's allowed Tim Huss to come into this battle now. And Bevan's going to be looking at not just ahead, but also in his mirrors. So we see him getting closed down by Tim Huss.
Year 1 car getting into the corkscrew. Look, you can see the amount of build-up of the gravel there, as I'm afraid many drivers during the course of the race have gone wide, and also the practice, because that is usually cumulative, as Jeremy Runyon gets past Jamie Bradford, and Ron Miller and Garrett Powell are also side by side entering into the corkscrew, as unfortunately Powell has just disappeared from our screens, so we don't know if he made the move or not.
Looks like some connection issues from Powell. Hopefully it's not terminal, but it does seem to be he's been off of our radar for quite some way, fallen back down to 17th position, and it looks like he is disconnected from the session, which is very unfortunate. To be right on board with Alan Elwood, looking back at Adam Lacey. Just 4 tenths separating these two drivers.
Oh,
as we see
on the lapped cars, I think.
I thought for a minute it might have been our leader of this race, but it looks like Joey Newsel in the 23rd place car has just made a mockery of that turn 4 exit. We'll see what happens here. He just catches the rear right tire of that MX-5 on the grass, or not grass, more sand, and that has sent his car spinning around.
That was quite a big hit, even though he got into the tire barrier, so he might have gotten away with that. But you know, this car is very unique in the sense that if you hit in the front and in the back like square on, it's quite resistant. But as you know, we have seen this car used for many seasons in the BSR MX-5 Cup on Monday and Tuesday. This is really very delicate and fragile, especially if you get to hit with either of your 4 wheels, and of course suspension, steering arms, etc. They are quite prone to damage. Very easy to get you know, bent steering or even worse with this car. So certainly not a car that can sustain a lot of as we can say, argy-bargy. You need to you can do a little bit of hip and shoulder, you know, a little bit of elbows out, but you have to keep those wheels clean, otherwise you are going to regret it. As the gap at the front, let's see a very quick overview. You can see in this last lap Elwood got half a second back from Glace, and maybe, just maybe, you know, time to find some consistency for Elwood. As you can see on lap 9 he gained 6/10 of a second, then he lost combined around 3/10 of a second in lap 10 and 11, so we might actually see this you know, fight for second place become a fight for third place if Lassie plays it nicely and stays behind the Abruzzi sponsored car. Could bunch up together and form a very nice fight for the race win.
Yeah, it seems like Glace is the faster driver of the three, but he's not looking very consistent. Every couple of laps he's making a mistake, and it's costing him dearly. That 3-second gap when we started the broadcast is now down to just under 2 seconds. And it just seems like he might be just losing his cool a bit with the pressure of leading the race. Maybe some lap traffic as well, causing some problems for him. He's right back on board with Adam Lisi.
Yeah, another big loss there, Dane. 42.3 for the leader, 41.855 for the second place car. So the gap is getting smaller and smaller. So Adam went for the basic livery, default iRacing livery with the flames, a classic choice, I'd say. As more lap traffic for the race leader there, which is certainly not what Vaughn wanted, I think, because if there is something that you don't want to do when you are losing time to the chasers, is having to deal with some lap traffic, and of course he's catching the lap traffic at the worst possible place, heading up into the corkscrew.
Yeah, unless the lap car makes it easy for him, he's going to lose a lot of time here. And it doesn't look like it. Oh, and he's punted. Wasn't expecting the lap car to be so slow in the braking zone, and he's got some massive damage to that other MX-5 of Christopher Ianiello. And it looks like the gap is now just 1 second. We'll have a look if we can see if there's any damage to the front of Glace's car. I'm sure there will be. It looked like a pretty hefty shunt into the braking zone of the corkscrew.
See, I think it was it looks bad, but I think it was just a case of misunderstanding between the two drivers. Especially in that place, maybe the lap car wanted to lift a bit earlier to let the leader by. The leader maybe was not expecting that, and because usually that is not a place where you want to let someone by, and that is what happened. As we see Jeremy Runyon here running a crash test special livery, I'm guessing, judging by the design on his car.
So you can see this battle for 7th place, just 6/10 in it. And it looks like Glace may have made a mistake. That gap to Elwood is decreasing all the time. Now it's less than a second. And just 1.5 seconds separates our top 3 drivers. But if we can look at the massive gap in the drivers here, top 3 separated by 1.5 seconds. Now down to just 1 second as they come down to the corkscrew. That's a great shot there of the cars all filing their way down the hill.
Issue
But 4th
for
place.
Petticord.
Oh, it's like he's spun there.
That curb. That is not that curb. Sorry, that is not a curb. That is a death trap. One of those orange markers on the inside, on the apexes of the corners. As more lap traffic for the leaders. Oh no! And he collects Adam Lacey. Hopefully, it's just a minor scratch to his car because he got hit in the rear right quarter panel by that lap car.
Oh, he's just gone on the gravel. It's not the best rejoin there, but just before that, it looked like he would dive down the inside of our leader. Definitely not looking like the safest driver there. As we can see, Elwood now truly on the gearbox of Glace as they come down through turns 3. DC not losing too much time, so it looks like he might not have any performance affecting damage. Elwood thinks the better of the move.
Oh, he's wide, he's
Glace
wide.
goes defensive, he's deep into the corner, and that's gifted Elwood the lead of this race.
Great pass by Alan Elwood, and he gets to the lead of the race. Von Glace was struggling since basically we jumped into the broadcast, Dane, and he kept on making mistakes. You were saying not very big mistakes, but small mistakes here and there, losing time left and right. And now, unfortunately for him, the big mistake deep into the braking area. Elwood goes to the lead. Leslie trying to hold on to the fight, but you know, maybe that steering is not 100% straight. I think he's pushing his steering wheel a bit towards the left on the straight line. Very slightly, but he is having to deal with that as more lap traffic for the leaders.
Yeah, you can see on the track map there's 3 or 4 cars in the way of our leaders. Looks like he's getting out of the way. But that's just putting more cars between the leaders and DC. It's not what he wants to see. And Glace managing to stay with Elwood. Just half a second separates them. He looked very close to him. He's also looks like he's got a pretty good line through turn 1 there. So we can see all of the different drivers with their different lines. There's lots of different lines you can take through some of the corners here. More of that traffic for leaders to contend with.
See, then the battle scars. I mean, I think iRacing really stepped up to the plate because not, you know, some cars have the new damage model, but I think almost all of them now have this new. I would call it like a deterioration system. You can see basically when you start, not only you have on one end the dirt starts to pick up and goes on the car, and it's much better done than in the past, but also you can see the paint being scraped from the car, even in these cars that don't have the new damage model. And for example, the right side of Elwood's car really showing the signs of battle. But Glace, after getting overtaken, something has sparked in him, because he is not leaving the back end of Elwood's car, and is looking feisty and maybe angry to get back into his first place.
He also had a bit of a moment on the exit of the corkscrew, bit of oversteer as he came down the hill, but he's right on the gearbox now.
Oh!
Alan Elwood, and another massive moment for him. That's just gifted Elwood a second's lead. It's also allowed Lisi to catch back up to him. The draft in these MX-5s, not too much at Laguna Seca, but definitely at other circuits, really powerful as they have some more lapped cars to contend with. But the draft in the Mazda is very pronounced, but there's not too many longer straights here at this circuit to take advantage of that. As we can see Lisi catching up to our previous race leader.
I cannot imagine a car in a racing that has more pronounced slipstream effect as this one. Now, of course, thankfully for the drivers that are in front, there are not a lot of big straights around here, but still, this has been the talk of the town many times over, as Daniel Corcoran is heading for the pits, and I see some big damage to the front end of his car. Did he make contact? Or no, he was already having some big signs of battle on the front end of his car as he went into the corkscrew in the previous lap. So back here, now all of a sudden, Glace again losing a bit of his rhythm and bringing Lisi back into contention, whilst Elwood is looking to run away. So 1 hour and 40 on the clock total we have to run. We are 30 minutes in, so I guess we'll have to go through some pit stops in the race.
Yeah, I'm not too sure how the MX-5 fuel tank works, but it does seem like a very long time for a car which is as small as the MX-5. I'm sure we're going to see some fuel stops in this race, and that adds an element of strategy, which can only make it more interesting. As Lisi right on the back of Glace as they come out of turns 1 and 2.
This lap 42.8 for the leader, 43.2 for Glace, 42.62 for Lacey, which was a bit faster than. As we have an issue there for Chad Clay, left car went very wide, stayed away from the wall, which is very important, because the walls are so close there, especially as also Ricky Miller has just gone wide. All these drivers will learn to know better, of course, as the race goes on, but I think that the focus right now should be here at the front as fight for the lead and for second, third place ebbing and flowing with each passing lap, and I'm quite sure that before the end of the day we'll see, and we already saw that a bit earlier with what happened to Adam Lacey, lapped cars will probably be a big factor, considering that we have a massive number of cars on the field today, and this is not a very big track in the end. Austin, yes, of course, Austin, sorry, I call everyone that is not Sam or Austin either Sam or Austin, you know, that's just my my bane, the bane of my existence for always doing broadcasts with them. So sorry, Dane, of course. But yeah, I mean, to my point, I think that it's not a long lap, even though it's a 142 if you are very quick, 141. But at the same time, it's a combination that a lot of these drivers will know very well, because as we said in the opening, iRacing has some free tracks, including Mazda Raceway, sorry, WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and then of course some free cars, the MX-5 being the premier rookie car. But on the other hand, I see some drivers who have their licenses in red, which means they are rookies, and most of them are 2.5, which is the basic safety rating, with 1350 I rating, which is the basic I rating. So for most of them, some of them, this would be probably the first experience racing around here. So a mixture of. On the other hand, we had some, A-class drivers, B-class drivers. So a very mixed field of drivers on track right now.
Yeah, of course, we've got 33 of them. We've got 5 A-class drivers here. We've got, I counted 5 rookie 2.5 drivers. They've never driven an official race, so not too sure how much practice they've had for this race. Some of them are doing pretty well. We've got Ron Miller and Ricky Miller in 10th and 11th. Never done an official race, and they're putting up a very good showing here. Still on the lead lap. But we've got 33 cars, and it's not the longest track, as you said, Marco, so we're going to have some bunching of the field as the race goes on, as the faster guys catch up to some of the slower drivers. And it's going to be interesting to see how our lead drivers can cope with the forever, never-ending traffic.
Elwood now with 1.6 seconds over Glace. Glace is around 1.5 as well in front of Glace, so the top 3 streaking out just a bit. More fighting here in the back. I see we were talking about Ron Miller and Ricky Miller, but well, Ricky Miller is getting hunted by Christian Eriksson, as we can jump on the lap time history, and you can see the gains made by Eriksson are, sorry, apologies, the gains made by Eriksson are quite big, and I just commentator cursed him, I think.
Yes, you have. He's made an error on the exit of the corkscrew. It's very easy to do that with the elevation change. The car lifts up and you lose all of your downforce grip. But we can have a replay of what happened here. Oh, it looks like he's just maybe cut on the inside. Bit of a tap on the barrier.
Steering seems to be somewhat straight, so he got away with that. He hit very squarely on the wall, but that was absolutely a close call, and apologies for the almost real-time commentator's curse. I mean, that was that takes a little bit of skill. As Alan Elwood jumps into the pits, I guess, for... Okay, so take this with a pinch of salt. I don't know if you know, but my great passion and why I'm a big lover of iRacing getting AI is watching AI races. You know, I'm crazy. And before the F3 came out, which is my favorite car to do AI races with, I used to do a lot of MX-5 races with my fantasy fictional roster, and the cars were usually starting to pit. You cannot set fuel restrictions there, and I remember most of the tracks after the half-hour mark, the cars were starting to come in for fuel. So we are in minute 36, so I guess that's an indication of these drivers having to do maybe 2 stops, considering we have 1 hour and 40 total.
Yeah, definitely. It depends how long they can keep their fuel. Maybe some fuel saving going on. If drivers are particularly heavy on their fuel usage, they may even have to have a quick splash and dash at the end of this race. It's going to be close for sure. So we see some more of our drivers pitting for what we can assume is fuel. Elwood dropping down to 8th place. And we can see Glace
Oh, they are also doing
retaining
tires,
the
which is,
lead.
can I say, a rookie mistake? Because, of course, it takes you... I mean, with new tire model, you want to have fresh tires. The problem is that, of course, they are going to be cold when you start out, and also you're going to lose a load of time. I mean, look at that pit stop from Elwood, 100 and well, I think when he comes out of the pit lane, he'll have spent close to 2 minutes, if not a bit more, into pit road. Let's see, yes, 120 seconds. And then our graphic says that's enough. I'm not kidding, there is a limit that we put on 120 seconds to calculate the pit lane time. So that was a long stop. Let's see if Glace and Leslie and Haas take tires as well. They do, so maybe they think it's worth it to lose the time and take the tires.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the temperatures out there are looking like. I'm sure you can bring the temperatures up on screen. There they are. And we've got a track temperature of 132 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's pretty hot. So maybe the tires are wearing a bit more than maybe we would expect, but for sure it takes a lot of time. Oh, it looks like Glace hasn't taken tires.
Yeah. Oh, gotta be careful, gotta be careful. This could be a penalty. Oh, don't go on the track. And he ruins everything. Wow. He will be kicking himself with Von Glace. He gambled. I think he made the right decision to not take tires, Dane. But that is 100% an unsafe pit exit and will get him a penalty. Leslie comes out of the pits, 86 seconds, so I'm afraid that maybe Alan Elwood got a penalty for speeding in the meantime, because he is way behind a lot of the other drivers that pitted, even those who took tires.
Yeah, that 2-minute penalty, the 2-minute pit stop time did seem very long compared to the rest of our drivers, and it is very easy to speed into the pit lane here at Laguna Seca. You come around the final hairpin and the cones are right there, so if you're not too sure where the cones are, it's very easy to accelerate out the hairpin and then realize, oh, I'm in the pit lane. And that is, I believe, a 40-second stop and hold penalty. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that would explain why his pit stop took 40 seconds longer. As we see Von Glace, is he going to pit for his penalty that we assume he has at the end of this lap? He's got a driver on his left.
Oh,
That was very close.
Yeah. He's back in, and if you don't deselect everything, including the windshield tear off, you are going to be held for 26 seconds. 1 second for the unsafe pit exit and 25 for the service. So plus the service time. So let's see. Hopefully he just comes in, deselects everything, and doesn't do a pit stop. The car is not going onto the jacks. That's a positive sign. So now the new leader is Adam Leslie, so it looked like he was in big trouble after getting hit in the rear right quarter panel by that lapped car a few minutes ago. And look at that, now he's leading the race with second place Alan Elwood, some 30 seconds behind. Wow.
Yeah, he's got a massive gap, and it's all down to pit stop strategy and errors there. Elwood speeding in the pit lane, that's given him a penalty. And Glace's unsafe pit exit, and you can see him just getting out of his pit box. And it's given Lacey a massive gap of 30 seconds, and with no one else really to challenge him, if he can keep it clean for the rest of this race, it looks like he might lead this race to the end. That's a massive gap for them to try and overcome. We can also maybe see if he took any additional repairs while using the pit stop. That might give him a bit of an extra advantage over where he was before the pit stops. We see Glace now in third position, 4 seconds behind Elwood. We'll see if maybe they can catch each other up.
And I can imagine, of course, Elwood being furious with himself for that mistake that probably made in the pits, and therefore I think he's going to push super hard. Keep an eye on the clock. We will certainly do, to compare the lap times of these two competitors. As another lap starts for analysis, we have here Team Us going past Chase S. Johnston, who is going
That sounds like he's run out of fuel there.
yeah.
Chase Johnston. He's a D-class driver. So he's done some Mazda races and he's got his D license, but I'm not sure he's done any races with fuel stops before. Might not know that he has to pit for them. But yeah, it looks like he's going to have to tow back to pit lane, which is going to take a pretty long time from the top of the hill up there. We can see a replay of Chris Ericsson.
Oh!
And his engine is gone. Is he going to... Oh, that's good avoiding action by the driver there, but engine blown. That probably from some damage he's picked up, maybe gone over a curb too hard or had some contact, but that's going to take a while.
It's strange because the engine blew as at the same time he was jumping over that curb. See if we can get a replay. I remember he hit the wall earlier there at the corkscrew, so he goes here, you can see. Ah no, the engine goes before, okay. But yeah, you can see some damage on the front end. That's a very strangely timed engine failure just before you hit one of those big sausage curbs there.
Yeah, that damage to the front might have blocked an air intake or something, which may have made the engine overheat, and it's pretty difficult to know when that's happening. But if it overheats too much, then that will happen. Your engine will blow up. And that's very unfortunate for him.
Especially in these tough conditions out there with hot temperatures. Of course, it's a bit more important to keep your front end clean and keep those air intakes in a good state and avoid the engine overheating. I mean, it will tell you, of course, you have the dashboards there, but when you are racing, when you're focused, especially on the MX-5, which has, yes, all its dashboards there, you can see, but in front of it there's basically a race dashboard that you put on top of the spec dashboard, so some indicators might not be very easy to spot, and of course you are focused, you are driving, so you are not really paying attention, and if you see a light that comes on, you don't want to think about it, or you think, oh, it's just you know, something else. As you say hello to Andy in the chat, thank you for joining us. Stay at home 100 from Laguna Seca for the Adrenaline Karting Invitational. Great to have you here on board. A little bit of a delay with lost passwords and time zone confusion, which brings me back to the point I was making today earlier. The day they abolish daylight saving time, it's time to go and have a big party, because it is absolutely useless and only creates drama like this in this day and age. It might have been very useful 200 years ago, not now. Rant over, back to racing.
Let's have a look at Alan Elwood. He's caught up 5 seconds since the pit stops. There's a lap driver really seeming to struggle with the exit at the corkscrew here, these drivers. We've seen quite a few of them make mistakes there as we see Adam Lisi crossing the start-finish line. The gap between them is just 26 seconds. So Elwood has caught up that gap. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to catch it up in the rest of this race. He's not catching it particularly quickly.
Let's see this
so we
lap.
can see the lap 23, that's 48 seconds gained. That's obviously from his pit stop. And he's gaining between 1 and 2 seconds a lap. And say 20 laps until pit stops. We might see a bit of a battle by the end of this race. So we're right on board with Tim Huss here, closing in on the back of Zachary Bevan. Just 7/10 separate the two drivers.
I mean, already we had some big drama in this race. Changes for the lead, mistakes coming out of the pits, mistakes coming into the pits, drivers running out of fuel. This is so far the closest fight on the field between, as we are saying, Bevan and Team Us. Fight for the 4th spot in the race. We have 9 cars on the lead lap right now, so the leaders are certainly pushing hard. As we were saying, Elwood probably the quickest guy on track right now, because and I think that was showing before the pit stops. I mean, for various reasons, the top 3 guys were already, I mean, showing maybe their cars. We saw, of course, Glaze go in the lead, as Ask was a bit deep there. So Glaze was in the lead, but he kept making mistakes, small mistakes, not big ones, and he lost that lead. Here he is right now. Lacey, of course, was keeping up with Elwood, but he got hit in the right rear quarter panel by that lapped car, and that certainly created issues to his steering, as Timas goes on the inside of Bevan in the final corner. They're going to be side by side on the front stretch, and I think that we might have a cutback here, and positions might not change after all, and they, in fact, don't change. Good defense there from Bevan.
I just saw another car coming into the pit lane with a blown engine as these drivers went past. It seems like it's going to be an issue for these drivers trying to keep their cars within their operating temperatures. We've got some very high temperatures here. We can see him there, smoke pouring out of that number 15 Mazda.
And of course, Glaze then, to go back to my point earlier, made the biggest mistake of all when he was in the lead, and then he made a final mistake going wide in this next corner, giving up the lead to Elwood. But then the pit stops came and everything changed once again, as the Millers are having a fight here. And Ricky Miller goes Zanardi style through the corkscrew. That is going to be a slowdown 100%.
Doesn't seem to be slowing down. He's actually gaining on him.
Oh!
He sent a massive lunge over that big red sausage herb.
That was a send, to say the least.
Yeah, that was a massive send. He's right on the back of Ricky as they go side by side over the start-finish line. And it's like you'll have the move done as they come into the braking zone. But going over the red curbs like that, really don't want to be doing that too many times, because it's very easy to get some floor damage or some suspension damage if you hit those curbs hard enough.
Absolutely. You remember before they made the update to iRacing and put the newer version of the track in, when the Charlotte Roval was released, if you jumped over the chicane curb with this car and other cars for that matter, you would blow the engine on the spot. Then they updated it, made it a little bit more smoother. Now we have the new chicane there, so that is even a bit more easier as well. But yeah, just to go back on the recap, if you just joined us right now, pit stops came. The leader, Alan Elwood, got a penalty coming into the pits and got held up for an additional around 40 seconds, while Von Glace gambled, didn't take tires, came out in the lead, but then outbrake himself coming out of the pit exit, and then got tagged with an unsafe pit exit, and he had to go through the pits once again for a stop and go penalty. This leaves the wounded but still working car of Adam Lacey there in the front of the field, in front of Elwood, and Glaze trying to come back into the fight. Of course, the gaps, you can see them on left side of the screen, 36.5 seconds between first and third, but this is a long race. We have 50 minutes left of this, so a lot of things can happen. Oh, and Petticord hard into the wall.
I can't help but think if that was maybe an incident involving Zachary Bevan as well. Just before that, I saw Bevan spun on the exit of the corkscrew, and he is retired back to the pit lane as Petticord goes and dives down into the tricky entry to the pit lane here at Laguna Seca, but it was Zachary Bevan having some connection issues and straight into that wall. Has he rejoined the track in front of Chad Petticord here? We'll see. Was he right on board through the corkscrew? We'll see if we can see what happened. Has he? Oh, no, it's completely unrelated. And he's overshot his pit box as well to rub some salt into those wounds of Chad Petticord.
Now I think he should be in his pit stall, but yes, absolutely you are right. So Lacey still is your leader. Asp and Ranian 4th and 5th. We have Steven Armstrong there sitting in 6th place. Daniel Corcoran is also in there. Ron Miller and Ricky Miller now distancing themselves, and Ricky Miller coming into the clutches of Keir Peckham. As you can see, this black and orange number 123 car.
Ricky Miller.
Oh dear.
Oh! Was there some contact there between the two cars? Yes, there was. Looks like he wasn't even going to make the corner, Peckham, as he came down the inside. It's a big shunt, and Miller is hard into that concrete barrier.
That car is not
and
going
he's gonna
anywhere.
Stop the car and retire to the pit lane. So we see that car of Peckham there, not looking too damaged. He did go pretty hard into the back of Miller. We have a look at Jamie Bradford in that. That's a very damaged Mazda there. Not too sure what's happened to him, but I would definitely pit for some repairs. That car is not looking very healthy at all.
Well, at the very least, he's got some big air intakes now on that car, which might help, as they used to joke about when NASCAR comes to Martinsville or Bristol. But yeah, that is certainly when you have all those parts missing at the front. Almost automatically, you have also steering issues of some sort. It was a big hit that he had at the front of the car. As we are about to enter into the 1 hour mark, as top 3 with Adam Lacey now in a bit of traffic.
Yeah, it's definitely something he's going to have to contend with for the whole race. He's lost a good 2 seconds just from these lapped cars, and they're very unpredictable. As you can see here, trying to figure out which way he has to go around them.
This is
Holding
so
around
tricky,
the outside.
Oh, and Leslie has a bad experience already with a lapped car, so that was important to get it done before the corkscrew. And down the hill he goes once again to 00. Of course, do you remember the wacky races from the animated TV series? Dane, I don't know if you are a bit too young for that.
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about, Marco.
Perfect. It was a cartoon where they had basically every episode they had a race, a point-to-point race, and each car was quite unique. There was, a car that could fly because it had a dragon. There was a car made by an inventor, a professor, so it had all sorts of tricks. And then there was the main bad. They were all quite nice guys, apart from the baddie of the series, the 00 car of a guy named Dick Dastardly, and it was famous for having never won a race in the whole series. And so even when he had a massive advantage, that 00 found a way to lose the race. So I'm hoping that this is not the same for Adam Lacey. Hopefully someone in the race chat is a fan of the Wacky Races TV series. It was someone did a calculation based on all the episodes using the F1 point system, and actually there is there are unofficial official standings that you can find, but of course don't look at that because you would spoil the show. Like so something like 50 episodes that were done, I think in the 70s, the 80s. I think you're a bit too young for that, Dane.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't around back then, but almost sounds like you're trying to give old Adam Lacey the commentator's curse there, Marco.
No. I mean,
Be careful.
I mean,
Roderick, they're going a bit wide.
as you have seen at the beginning of the race, I really don't need any particular formula to give poor drivers commentators curse, because as you can see, I'm very effective. As oh, look at that sideways from Jeremy Runyon, as hopefully, you know, he has a crash test livery. He's hoping not to, you know, be a crash test dummy in this race, and that car looks pretty much okay, apart from some, you know, scratches here and there. It looks like he's in a good condition. Oh, what happened here? A parking lot in the final corner.
I had a feeling this was going to happen. I was watching on the track map. We saw Christopher Yaniello making a bit of a mistake at the exit of the corkscrew, and he bunched up all of these drivers behind him, and it's like he's just gone and punted into the final corner. He's not having the best race. I had a feeling something was going to happen. I did keep my eye out on the map. Here's his incident at the corkscrew. That's a new one. We've seen lots of drivers head the other side of the track, but not many have managed to go almost 180 degrees into this near side wall. I just was watching this on the track map. I was hoping they were going to get through, but right in the path of these four cars, this train of four cars gets out of the way.
Strange, because he was lifting. How did they make contact? I mean, he was leaving space for everyone. Maybe he was looking at something else, or his pedal got stuck or something, because it's almost like he didn't even attempt at braking, which was weird because he was being very courteous and letting everyone by. So that was a strange one.
Yeah, very strange indeed. So we have a look further back down the field. We've got a battle for 10th here. Peckham and Clay, as Peckham goes wide, and that just gifts the position to Clay, but Peckham, we've seen him make some moves already in this race, and I'm sure he'll be back to try and reclaim his top 10 position. Behind them is, I believe, a lapped car, as Johnston in 12th position is just entering turn 5 now. So they've got quite a big gap behind Peckham. As we see, it is the car of Jamie Bradford, that destroyed looking Mazda MX-5. Johnston having his own little battle for 12th, as we see our race leader Lisi here.
Those lap times are not promising for him, Dane. Look how much he's losing. 3 seconds, 7 tenths, 1 second, 1.2 seconds. You know, in the fourth,
be getting caught up with some traffic, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the 30-second lap, that was traffic, but I think genuinely Elwood has shown, at least in this the part, you know, basically since we jumped in on the 10th minute of the race, that it seems like, especially after the damage that Lacey got, he's the fastest guy on track. I mean, you can get away with losing 7 tenths of a second, something like that, but when you start losing 1.2, I guess the 3 seconds again were because of lap traffic. You know, this big gap, he might really have the fate of the cartoon version of the 0-0, where even though, oh dear, oh, so I saw the name of Elwood flashing in red. That usually means a crash. I already did my part with commentators' curses today, so I don't want to do it anymore, but it was just an off-track, an innocent off-track in the final corner.
It's pretty easy to do there, trying to use as much of the track as possible. But that gap between Elwood and Lisi just just over 18 seconds. As you can see, he's lost about half a second from that mistake. Just looking at our drivers, we can see what the mistake was. It's barely off track. Just a bit of wheel spin, sending him out towards the edge of the track. Looking at our drivers, Lisi's no slow coach. He has a 2,600 I rating, which is almost 1,000 more than Elwood behind. I think that damaged Mazda may be causing him a bit of issues. You can see the rear of his car a little bit bent.
Oh, Peckham is off again. Careful with the rejoin, careful with the rejoin. Good boy. Front right seems to be in bad shape. Let's get a replay. Oh, 3 wide.
Oh, and that's looks like his fault. So he just turned in front of Jamie Bradford. Not Jamie Bradford, who used the car in front. I'll have a look.
It was, oh, you know, that's a good question. But one of the cars that was hovering around this position, if we can find it, which is not easy. But yeah, that's probably what happened. So also we have James Russell going wide. Yeah, that it is. Oh, the 46, of course. It was the 46. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Yes, it was the yellow and blue 46 car. I wonder what the inspiration is for that color combination and car number.
Off again. Seems to be really struggling with handling this car. He's
Suspensions
gone
are
off
broken.
quite a few times.
No, seems like his steering was bent. Oh, and oh, again. Oh, and now the engine is gone. So
Yeah, it's a big hit into the wall from that driver. He's one of our drivers who has never done an official race on our racing, one of the more inexperienced drivers. Maybe just overdriving the car, not treating it well. The engine has gone on him and he is back retired into the pit lane, as we've seen quite a few times already in this race.
this is
So
turning into a proper attrition rate then, because with 6 cars on the lead lap and Armstrong threatening to be put 1 lap down by Lewis because he's basically 1 minute and 40 seconds in front of the leader, and the leader is lapping in 1:43, so he's almost there. Really turned into a race of attrition with and then we have 5 cars 1 lap down, then several other cars 2 laps down, and others still 6, 7 or 8 laps down. Stark and Cole are respectively 11 and 16 laps down, but they're still going around, which is I think a good thing. You know, getting driving experience under your belt, and of course in a long race like this, finishing is basically you know, still a very important point of pride as Leslie gets rid of Armstrong. So now the top 5 are on the lead lap and only them.
Yeah, out of our 33 driver field, it's not looking good for many of our drivers, but they're all making the rounds. Only a couple of drivers in the pit lane. So we see a couple of more drivers heading down onto the pit lane.
I think Ricky Miller is one of them.
He is just exiting the pits there, and he's still got quite a lot of damage. It's heading very slowly out of the pit lanes. We have a look at AJ Roderick and Chuck Maitland behind him. He's going to look to get a good exit, and it looks like he has. He might be able to pull alongside Roderick in the run up towards the corkscrew. He looks towards the inside, thinks the better of it. Is he going to try a cut back? And not this time. He's going to bide his time. Maybe make a move in towards the final or first corners. So we see Ricky Miller on the left-hand side of our screen, retiring back into the pit lane.
Yeah, and Peckham with another issue, and this time he is, I think, this is it for him. Car is pointing in the wrong direction. I guess he spun coming out of the corner, but then overcorrected, because usually you tend to go on the other side. That car is still there. Let's see. Oh dear. Oh no. No! No, 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 no. This is not good. I'm hoping for a problem, but I don't think it was.
That's intentional. It looks very intentional by Ricky Miller, of course. Ricky got taken out by Peckham earlier on in this race. That looks like a very intentional hit to me.
Peckham is still there, by the way. Okay, now he said that that's enough.
But just for the viewers watching, if on the left-hand side of the screen the car position box flashes red, that means that the driver is off track. And that is how we're going to see most of our incidents today.
And that usually ranges from anything as innocuous as an off track to something like we just saw. So it's always it's almost like a Pavlovian reflex for us when we see that number flashing red. We immediately think about the worst. So, and usually it is, by the way. So. We got fooled earlier when Elwood went wide there in the final corner, but apart from that, unfortunately every time we've seen that number flashing red, it was due to something quite big. In the meantime, 14.7 seconds the gap at the front of the field. The gains from Elwood have been there, but not as big as previously. Now 14 seconds, half a second in the previous lap. Yeah, I mean, I still think that without any kind of massive improvement, he is going to catch Lacey come the end of the race, unless Elwood gets stuck in some traffic, makes a mistake, or maybe Lacey can push hard and get a couple of 1 half a second, 1 second into his right foot, as a couple of cars in the pits. Chad Clay from the edge of the top 10 in P10, and another car joining the pits is number 18. I think Jamie Bradford again, trying to repair that very damaged MX-5.
Remember, our pit window for fuel is around about 36 to 40 minutes, so we're going to expect to see some drivers coming down into the pit lane, maybe this lap or the next. Hopefully we won't see so many mistakes as we saw last time. But Lacey, I think, will be coming down onto pit road this time by, as we see Glace from third position entering the pit lane.
So actually coming in for his third trip through the pits. Of course, he had to serve that penalty in the second one, and now coming in for another stop is Von Glace, former race leader. Gambled on tires, didn't work. Let's see if he takes them this time. He does. So will be right side first, then left side first, then left side after, and in the meantime, very slowly they will add fuel to his car. The absolutely, I mean, these iRacing mechanics, the pit crew are so quick that they are even too fast for us to spot. They are almost invisible.
So we're right on board with Tim Huss. Oh, my mic's just cut out. So we're right on board with Tim Huss, and we see Glace exiting the pit lane. He's about 3 seconds ahead of Runyon in 5th place.
Yes, there he is with that crash test car. And there is our former leader. Let's see. Lacey goes for another lap. Let's keep an eye on Elwood. He stays out. In the background, there is another parking lot at the pit entry between Maitland and the number...
Cole.
It's
It
number
looks
12.
like Cole to me. But Maitland,
Oh yeah, you're right. It's David Cole, the 23. Maitland is. Ah, there are two Maitlands. Okay, that's they're both in the grass, by the way. So let's see what happened there. Looking at David Cole. Oh,
oh, that's a tough one. Looks like the driver on the inside has just drifted a bit wide on the exit, and it's taken them both into the wall. And then we have a look at the second Maitland, Chuck Maitland, and he repeats what we saw a little bit earlier, just losing the rear end coming into the corkscrew. So we see Adam Lisi now surely is going to be taking his pit stop at the end of this lap. Gap to Elwood behind is just less than 15 seconds. So this pit stop entry and exit is going to be very important for him. Is he going to go down to pit road? No, he's not. He's going to stay out for another lap.
so as he stays out, let's see if Elwood follows suit or if he changes. I mean, he could go in and get some fresh tires, maybe try an undercut. Not this time. So he stays out as well, and it's a big gap to third place, virtual third place. Sorry, effective third place, but virtually not there because, of course, he still has to beat Timas. And Von Glace, you can see him there, he's got a couple of lapped cars in front of him to contend with. Jeremy Runyon still very, very nicely poised for a top 5 finish, because look where Steven Armstrong is taking to the first corner right now. So massive gap between 5th and 6th. And battles around the racetrack have for the time being calmed down a bit as we are getting into this final 25 minutes of the race, but of course with the being in the middle of a pit cycle, positions are a bit shuffled, and I'm quite sure after the pit stops are over all these drivers will come together once again, and we'll have a straight fight to the finish as Maitland and Peckham are into the pits. Peckham's car is absolutely destroyed as Eric Maitland's car got that hit earlier in the penultimate corner, and this is Chuck Maitland getting lapped by Von Glace, who's just got his personal best with a 41.396.
Yeah, Glace back on the money as the tyres have had a few laps to warm up, as we see Lacey going for another lap. So it looks like we've got our pit cycles calculations all wrong here in the commentary booth.
As per usual, by the way. I mean, that's my fault. Come on, Alan, pit. No.
No. Not this time. We spend another lap waiting for the pit stops to see where they come out, but the gap, Elwood's managed to close in 2 seconds on Lisi the last couple of laps. So we can see there, 7/10 gained on that last lap 43.
Yeah, I'm still convinced he's going to catch him unless something happens, and then, you know, from there on it's anybody's guess, of course, because of the draft and because these are, you know, very quick drivers. AJ Roderick is behind these advertisement boards. That is at the pit entrance, and that very colorful car has to call the tow truck. Oh dear. Oh, he almost saved it. Then he didn't.
He's just braked at the very wrong time. It's just as he started to catch it, the weight balance shifted over to the left side of the car, and he's just spun the car around. So we see Christian Eriksen spinning his car around as well. Looks like maybe on the entry to turn number 4.
Glace with another personal best, some 41.3, trying to consolidate his podium. Could have been much more. I really applaud him for his gamble to not take tires in the first pit stop. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for his pit exit, his unsafe pit exit penalty. Another lap for Lacey, and Helwood stays out as well, goes past, and that must be one of the lapped cars. Chad Clay, there is. But yeah, still the two leaders are going on. I think they're wanting to stretch this fuel tank as much as possible.
It could come down to who takes the right amount of fuel at the pit stop. They're not going to have to take a full tank, and I'm sure these drivers are going to try and work out how much fuel they're going to need to get to the end of this race. Because the less fuel you have, the less time your pit stop will take, and the less amount of fuel you'll be carrying, which reduces the weight of the car, which means you can go faster.
You can see on the left side of your screen the last time these drivers pitted. Lap 22 and 21 and 22 for the top three. You can see it stands out Glaze pitting on lap 40.
Elwood pitted a lap earlier than Lisi, so he might have to come in a lap earlier as well, depending on how much fuel he's been using. I also saw the 19th place Joey Nuezel, and he's gone off the track just a few moments ago, and he's out into the pit lane. Not sure if we can maybe get a replay of what happened to him. So we have a look at Alan Elwood. Is he going to pit this time? At least he opts not to, and so does Elwood. So this master tank lasting a very long time. Maybe some fuel saving being done by these drivers.
Getting into the final 20-minute mark, 1 hour, 18 minutes, 35 seconds on the clock right now. Adam Lacey is still leading. The gap is shrinking and shrinking, not by much this time around. It was not the best lap from Alan Elwood, but of course when they get into the pits, I think Dane with those fresh tires, they are going to be absolutely fantastic, fantastically quick. Both of these guys will be a fantastic start. I mean, the fact that Lacey has to stop maybe earlier, I don't think it's the worst possible thing, because yes, a little bit more fuel to put in, but with fresher tires, he could really, you know, squeeze that extra percentage of performance that he needs to maybe try and keep his lead. We shall see. As another time that we had to the corkscrew, and Elwood goes very wide. Great save there, and he keeps his car on the racing surface proper. Another time we go through the corkscrew, after the corkscrew, and of course once again we are in the doubt zone. Is he going to pit or not? Will Adam Lacey? And the answer is absolutely not. He stays out, and let's see if Elwood will follow him as well.
Elwood, as he came around that final corner, was very close to Lisi, only 10 seconds. He could almost see him as he came around that fast right-hander of the penultimate corner.
Petticord has towed back to the pits. Big issues for the number 8. One of the most beautiful cars on the field today. I think
another engine problem? Oh, he's just parked it.
Big issues. Alan Elwood.
Has he run out of fuel? Or is there another problem with his car?
Trying to find a suitable moment for the replay to see what might have happened.
Hey. Does he maybe have an engine failure? I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he would have pitted if he was too close on fuel. Maybe he's forgotten to pit. So we'll see. We might hear the engine start to splutter.
It's not his lap, of course. It's this lap, I think.
We'll wait and see. But of course we might hear the explosion of the engine, or if it starts to splutter, he's run out of fuel. We'll see. Has he forgotten to pit? That would have pretty much gifted Lisi the win, as Glace... No. No, that car is still very much going. doesn't look like there was an engine blow. It doesn't look like he's run out of fuel either. And you can normally hear the car spluttering. As we see Runyon there outbraking himself.
Oh! Okay.
Are we missing something? It looks like he's just doing burnouts on the start-finish line.
Because
Not entirely sure.
the advertised distance was 1 hour and 40 minutes. My guess is that maybe they didn't set up properly the lap limit, and the race is over.
Not entirely sure what's happening here. Maybe that's why Elwood has just parked his car. And she's retired back to pit lane.
That is
As
also
Glace takes the lead.
People in the chat are also saying the same, having the same feeling about what happened. As I guess the race is over then. Just a reminder that we are in the dark as of this moment. We don't have access to what eventually the drivers are saying to themselves for the race direction. So, but seeing that almost everyone has made their way back to the pits, we can say with certainty, more or less, that Alan Elwood has won this race. Now, unfortunately, we cannot give you as the safety car now has been called to bring the proceedings to an end. Unfortunately, we cannot give you the race results because iRacing takes them at the end of the race, and the race technically iRacing wise is not over just yet. But I mean, what we saw, it was a very, very entertaining one, Dane.
As Glace pulls into the pit lane, it does seem like the race is over. Very interesting, maybe, as you said, they've set up the session wrong. I don't know why they did. This is called the Stay at Home 100. It's not very clear what is going on here. I assumed the 100 was stood for 100 minutes. Maybe we're, as we said, not entirely sure what is going on here. We don't have too much information about this race.
Not to worry, because I mean, I think the drivers were very, very good on the track. It was a very entertaining race. There is a link for interviews in the race chat to our Discord, and I suppose that our race winner Adam Lacey has joined us, Dane.
Adam, hi, welcome to the commentary booth. Give us your thoughts on the race. A bit of an interesting one. We missed the first few minutes of the race, unfortunately, but how did you find the race?
Well, I guess there was a little confusion at the end there, but it was supposed to end after 45 minutes or 45 laps or however many minutes, and I got to 45 laps and the race didn't end, so I guess there's a little scoring error, but the race director told me I am the winner, so...
Okay, we were just wondering because we were told it's an hour and 40-minute race. Of course, we didn't really have too much information about this, but 45-lap race, it seems the session may have just been set up a bit wrong. But you took the lead of the race after the first pit stops. What was going through your mind then once you took the lead and had that pretty massive 30-second lead?
I was wondering if I took enough fuel because I had such a big lead. I thought maybe I miscalculated my fuel, but it turns out that I was good by about 5 laps, so I was pretty nervous till the end.
Yeah, I can see how that could be nerve-wracking. What actually happened was Alan Elwood, he's got a speeding penalty for entering the pits too quickly, and then we saw Von Glace getting an unsafe pit exit, so he had to do a second pit stop straight away, and that's what has gifted you the lead. But you drove pretty well, and do you have? I'm assuming you got some karting experience. If you want to tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, I've been involved in karting for about 20 years. I don't drive anymore, but I grew up racing, and I'm actually the flag man for Cup Karts North America now. So that's how I stay involved.
Oh, that's pretty good. You've got a pretty high I rating, as I've seen. So, what do you normally drive on the iRacing service? Is the Mazda your car of choice, or do you normally drive something else?
Yeah, road racing, I usually stick with the Mazda. And then ovals, I do most of the NASCAR stuff.
So you're an oval guy. We've got a couple more drivers in the interview area. Before we let you go, is there anyone that you want to shout out?
I guess I'd just like to thank Steve, who put this on. It was a very fun race. And then I guess you guys for putting it on YouTube so everyone can watch.
Well, thank you very much. Marco, I believe, has got Tim Huss in the interview box. Marco, over to you.
Yes, as he just disappeared, let me try to bring him back into our channel. Maybe he disappeared again. Just a second. As here we
Having
go.
some issues. There he is.
Should be with us. Hello, Tim. How you doing, man?
Oh, looks like we're having some connection issues.
Hopefully, we can hear us.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Tim. Welcome to the broadcast booth. So, oh no, we lost him again. Having some issues with his connection. Just you know, as we try to wait to sort this out. You know, it's certainly Dane kind of a unique period for sim racing. It's absolutely beautiful that we have so many drivers from real life and you know trying their hands at simulation. And I think this will be you know the opening of a door that I think should have been opened many years ago, and it has been slightly opened in the past, but now it's been blown wide open. Certainly, all of this, including events like this that bring more real-life drivers, doesn't matter if from karting or F1, into sim racing, is really a good thing because you know a lot of people will come to know this world and will probably you know give even more exposure to the world of sim racing.
Yeah, of course. You know, sim racing with the cancellation of.
As I think Dane microphone has cut out and given up on life at the very moment of the final thoughts on his race, trying to get Dane back. I mean, I can hear his sound back. There he is, Dane.
Yeah, sorry, just knocked my mic out of place. But as I was saying, sim racing with the cancellation of all the major real world events, it's brought a big view onto sim racing. We've got some big series such as NASCAR, IndyCar, Road to Indy here on Apex Racing TV being shown on here. Hopefully, we can get some people to stick around in the sim racing community and build up our community that we have tried so hard over the last few years to bring to people. Right now, we've got over 14,000 people logged into iRacing, which is massive compared to what we usually see.
Awesome, Dane. So we are at the end of our broadcast. It was a very entertaining one. A bit of a shame for the mix-up with the time zone, but I'm sure that you know next time it will be even better. So thank you very much, Dane, for joining us. To all the viewers, the drivers, everyone else, Big thanks for allowing us in your homes today. And as per usual, from everyone here at Apex Racing TV, I wish you good night and happy racing.